Have you ever stayed up at night replaying a problem over and over again in your head, wishing you could fix it, change it, or understand it? What if the reason you're tired, overwhelmed, and anxious is because you're trying to control something Allah never asked you to carry? There is peace in surrender. There is strength in saying, Ya Allah, I leave it to you. The more you try to force what's beyond your reach, the more exhausted your soul becomes. But the moment you step back and let Allah handle what you cannot, everything begins to shift. In this reminder, we'll explore how faith replaces frustration and how true power begins where your control ends. The illusion of control. My beloved brothers and sisters, one of the greatest tricks of the nafs is to convince us that we are in control. That if we just try harder, stress more, think deeper, we can fix everything. But the reality is, control is an illusion. Only Allah has full power over every outcome. You may plan, prepare, and do your best, but the final result is in His hands, not yours. How often do we find ourselves exhausted, not because of the hardship itself, but because of our constant need to control it? We replay conversations, try to fix other people, chase results that are not ours to determine. And all the while, our hearts grow restless, forgetting that peace comes not from control, but from trust in the controller. The Quran reminds us, and they plan, and Allah plans, but Allah is the best of planners. You see, there is a silent arrogance in trying to manage what only Allah can. It's subtle. It hides behind the veil of responsibility, but it often turns into anxiety when we forget that our job is effort, not outcome. Many times we think letting go means giving up, but it doesn't. Letting go means acknowledging your limits. It means saying, Ya Allah, I've done my part, the rest belongs to you. And that moment when your heart truly releases is when real tawakkul begins. We often measure success by how much we control. But in Islam, success is measured by how much we trust. Did you pray? Did you act with sincerity? Did you place your matter in the hands of Allah? That's what truly matters. Because no matter how strong you are, nothing moves without His permission. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ faced rejection, pain, betrayal. Yet, he never let those hardships steal his peace. Why? Because he never tried to force what only Allah could control. He surrendered without weakness. That is the strength we are called to embody. There is a difference between doing your best and trying to be Allah. When you try to control the outcomes, force timelines, manipulate situations, you step into a role that doesn't belong to you. Allah is al-Mudabbir, the one who arranges all affairs. You are His servant, not His substitute. Sometimes we worry so much about the future that we forget who holds the future. We plan every detail, then panic when it doesn't go our way. But perhaps Allah is redirecting you, not rejecting you. And if you had full control, you might miss something far better written for you. Control gives the illusion of power, but it steals your peace. It whispers you're not doing enough. It convinces you that outcomes define your worth. But the believer knows outcomes are not your burden. Sincerity and submission are. When we stop trying to control everything, we start to see the signs of Allah. We notice His protection in the delays, His wisdom in the silence, His mercy in what didn't work out. But we only notice these things when we stop clinging to our illusion and open our hearts to His will. The tight grip we have on life often strangles our own serenity. The more we try to grasp control, the more it slips through our fingers. But when we loosen that grip and hand our affairs to Allah, we find that the peace we were chasing was never outside, it was in surrender. So my dear brothers and sisters, release the illusion. Let go of what was never yours to hold. You are not meant to carry the universe on your shoulders. You are meant to fall in sujood, lift your hands and say, Ya Allah, I trust you with what I cannot control. That is where peace begins. That is where your heart rests. Tawakkul, the heart of surrender. Tawakkul is not just a word we say, it's a state of the heart. It is when your soul finally breathes after holding on too tightly to this world. It is the moment you stop wrestling with the things you can't change and instead say, Ya Allah, I leave it in your hands. True tawakkul is not weakness, it's the strongest form of spiritual trust. My beloved brothers and sisters, we often confuse tawakkul with passiveness. But Islam teaches us to tie our camel and then rely on Allah. This means you plan, you work, you make dua, but in the end, you hand over the outcome to the one who knows what you do not. Tawakkul isn't inaction, it is the balance between effort and surrender. There are times in life when you've done everything right, yet things still don't work out. That's when tawakkul is truly tested. Will you still believe Allah's plan is better? Will you still trust His wisdom over your own? That moment of uncertainty is the doorway to spiritual growth if your heart chooses surrender over struggle. When you practice tawakkul, your heart becomes light. You stop overthinking, stop forcing, stop fearing. You realize that your job is to strive, not to control. Allah did not ask you to be in charge of results. He asked you to walk with faith, pray with sincerity, and rest knowing He never miscalculates. The beauty of tawakkul is that it brings calm even in chaos. The waves of life may roar, but your heart remains anchored. You stop panicking about what might happen because you know Allah already wrote the best outcome even if it's not the one you expected. That's real faith. That's deep peace. Tawakkul doesn't mean life becomes easy. It means you stop falling apart when life gets hard. You no longer question every delay or breakdown. Instead, you begin to see Allah's mercy in every moment, even in disappointment, because you trust the one who sees the full picture, not just today. Some people rely on connections, wealth or status, but the believer relies on the Most High. When you place your trust in Allah, you're never truly alone. Even if people abandon you, even if the world misunderstands you, Allah remains, and His help arrives exactly when it's needed. Every prophet lived through trials that required tawakkul. From Ibrahim alayhi salam walking into the fire, to Musa alayhi salam standing before the sea, to our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the Kaaba, each moment of fear was met with full reliance on Allah. And every time Allah delivered in miraculous ways. Your tawakkul will often be tested in silence. No big signs, no instant answers. Just you, your prayer mat, and a heart full of dua. But it's in those quiet moments that your faith is purified. It's when you trust Him without seeing the result that you show Allah your sincerity. Tawakkul turns your burdens into blessings. What you once feared, you now face with calm. What once kept you up at night now becomes a reason for sujood. You don't ignore reality, you just put it in perspective. You see trials as tools and delays as divine timing. When you place your trust in Allah, you allow space for miracles. Doors open from directions you never imagined. Comfort arrives in unexpected forms. And sometimes what you prayed for is replaced with something far better. Not because you earned it, but because you trusted His plan over your own. So my brothers and sisters, carry this in your heart. Tawakkul is the secret to serenity. Not because life gets easier, but because your soul finally lets go of control. Say it often, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. Allah is sufficient for us and the best one to rely on. Ameen. When worry becomes worship, there are times when your heart is so heavy, your mind so restless, that you find yourself pacing, sighing, and overthinking. But my brothers and sisters, worry in the hands of a believer can be transformed. When you take that pain and raise your hands to the sky with dua, it is no longer anxiety, it becomes an act of worship. You were never meant to carry everything alone. That worry, that fear, that sadness, it's a call from Allah to return to Him. Every tear you cry in sujood is counted. Every whisper of Ya Allah, help me is heard. When you convert your fear into reliance, you are not just coping, you are worshipping. Sometimes the sleepless nights you spend worrying are actually moments where your soul is being awakened. You begin praying more, seeking forgiveness, giving charity, reflecting on your life. That is not a breakdown, that is transformation. Allah uses worry to bring your heart back to what truly matters. It's easy to think that worry is weakness. But in Islam, what matters is what you do with it. If it makes you bitter, it can destroy you. But if it makes you better, it can elevate you. When you pour your worries into prayer, they don't drown you, they purify you. Think of Maryam alayhi salam, alone and in pain, calling out to Allah beneath the palm tree. Her worry led to surrender, and her surrender led to divine provision. Worry isn't a sin, it's what you do with it that counts. If it leads you to Allah, it becomes a door to Jannah. Worry that leads to remembrance of Allah is no longer a burden, it becomes light. It becomes something sacred. Every heartbeat that says, I can't do this, is met with a divine whisper saying, but I can. When you place your trust in Him, your fear no longer owns you. There's beauty in realizing you're not in control. That realization hurts, yes, but it also heals. Because you stop blaming yourself for what's beyond your power. You start trusting the one who already wrote your story. Worry softens your ego when it leads you to sujood. The Prophet ﷺ would turn to prayer when he was deeply distressed. Not because the problem would disappear immediately, but because the heart would find peace. That's the real secret. Peace doesn't come from resolution, it comes from connection with the Creator. Sometimes you won't know what to say in your dua. You'll just cry or sit in silence. That's okay. Allah understands your heart before you speak. Even your silence, if it's filled with faith, becomes worship. Even your confusion, if handed to Him, becomes clarity. Worry can be a mercy in disguise. It humbles you. It reminds you that you're dependent, that you're human, and that only through Allah can you truly find strength. So don't let your worry drive you away from Allah. Let it pull you closer to Him. That is when it becomes worship. My dear brothers and sisters, if you're carrying something heavy, stop trying to carry it alone. Turn your anxiety into action in the form of prayer, patience, and trust. That's when your heart shifts from chaos to calm. That's when you realize your pain has purpose. In the end, the believer doesn't just feel, they transform. They take what the world calls weakness and turn it into worship. So worry, but worry with faith. Cry, but cry to Allah. And know that every moment of struggle is a chance to rise, not fall. That is the power of surrender. Ameen. Silent battles, divine help. There are battles you fight that no one sees. The kind of pain that lives behind your smile. The kind of struggle you carry in silence because words wouldn't do it justice. My brothers and sisters, Allah sees what others cannot. The quietest cries of your heart are heard by the one who created it. Sometimes you don't even know how to explain what you're going through. So you stay quiet, you carry on. You smile in public and break down in private. But the good news is, Allah doesn't need an explanation. He already knows. And His help is already on the way. You may feel invisible, but you're not forgotten. Every time you showed up when it was hard, every time you forgave when it hurt, every time you stayed patient without a word, Allah recorded it. These silent battles are not a sign of weakness, they are signs of strength and faith. Often it's the ones who seem the strongest who are fighting the heaviest battles inside. And that's why we must not judge one another. Only Allah knows the full story. And only He provides the healing that no one else can. The beautiful thing about Islam is that even our silent struggles are acts of worship when we bear them with patience and hope. That inner pain, if carried with sabr and tawakkul, becomes a means of purification. Your silence becomes louder in the heavens than words spoken on earth. Some of the strongest people are those who cry in sujood and then get up as if nothing happened. Not because they're faking strength, but because they've offloaded their pain to Allah. They trust that the one who heard them in the dark will answer in the light. Even when no one checks on you, even when you feel unseen, Allah sends angels to record your patience. Not a moment of your silent endurance goes unnoticed. Every sigh, every tear, every step forward while carrying pain, it's all written with reward. In those moments where you feel you're drowning, that's often when Allah is closest. Sometimes He doesn't remove the storm right away, but He strengthens your heart to get through it. Because His help doesn't always come by changing your situation, it comes by changing you. The Prophet ﷺ said that the strongest person is not the one who can wrestle others, but the one who controls themselves in anger. That includes emotional control. When you suffer silently and still respond with kindness and faith, you are displaying strength that only Allah truly sees. You may not have someone to vent to, but you always have a Lord to turn to. He listens when you whisper in sujood. He comforts when your chest is tight. He responds when your eyes can't find sleep. And that divine help often comes when the world stays silent. One of the names of Allah is Al-Latif, the subtle one. He helps you in ways you don't even notice. The sudden ease in your chest, the unexplainable calm, the right person showing up at the right time, these are signs that your silent battle was met with silent mercy. Sometimes Allah delays His help so your heart becomes fully His. He removes distractions. He allows discomfort, not to harm you, but to pull you closer. Your silent battle becomes the bridge between your pain and His presence. If the world doesn't understand you, that's okay. Allah does. And His help is not based on who sees you suffering, it's based on your sincerity. The more you trust Him in silence, the more He elevates you in ways the world could never match. So my brothers and sisters, don't let the silence fool you. Your patience is powerful. Your hidden tears are treasured. And your quiet resilience is a sign that Allah is working behind the scenes, arranging relief in ways you can't imagine. Keep walking with faith. Keep showing up. Your silent battles are writing a story of strength, written in the ink of Sabr and lit by the light of Tawakkul. And remember, when the world doesn't hear your pain, Allah listens louder. Ameen. Let go of the outcome. Sometimes we become so attached to how things should turn out that we miss the blessings in how Allah actually wrote them. My brothers and sisters, Islam teaches us to strive but not to obsess. You plant the seed, but the rain comes only by Allah's command. Let go of the outcome. Do your part, then leave it in His hands. One of the reasons we feel anxious is because we tie our peace to results. We think, if this works out, I'll be happy. But true tawakkul is when your peace is based on trusting Allah, not on getting what you want. The outcome is never yours. To control only your effort is. You pray, you try, you give your best. But then you surrender. Not because you gave up, but because you recognize Allah's wisdom. Maybe what you wanted wasn't good for you. Maybe the delay is saving you. Maybe the closed door is a doorway to something better. The Prophet ﷺ reminded us that Allah never burdens a soul beyond what it can bear. So if something didn't work out, it wasn't a punishment, it was mercy in disguise. The outcome you were chasing might have been a test you weren't ready for. Trust Allah's redirection. When you fixate on results, you block your heart from appreciating the journey. Sometimes the process is where the real growth happens. Your patience, your prayers, your character, all of it is being shaped, even when the results feel uncertain. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care with balance. You work hard, but your heart doesn't cling to a specific ending. Because you know, deep down, Allah's version of your future is always more beautiful than your own plan. Some of the most painful moments come when we think we've failed. But in Islam, success isn't measured by outcomes. It's measured by intention, sincerity, and trust in Allah. The outcome belongs to Him. Your job is to show up with your best. Think about Musa alayhi salam. He struck the sea with a staff, something that logically couldn't split water. But he obeyed the command, and Allah took care of the impossible. That's what happens when you act with faith and leave the result to the Creator. When your dua isn't answered in the way you expected, don't think Allah ignored you. Sometimes He changes your situation. Sometimes He changes you. And both are forms of mercy. Let go of what you imagined and hold on to Allah. The more you force what isn't written for you, the more exhausted your heart becomes. But the moment you release it to Allah, you'll feel a peace that's not based on things going right, but on knowing the controller of all things is guiding you. Some of us are waiting for a specific person, job, or outcome to validate our worth. But your value doesn't come from what works out, it comes from who created you. When you trust Allah, you stop needing proof that your path is blessed. You already know it is. We say inshallah not just with words but with our hearts. It's a reminder that every result depends on His will, whether it comes quickly or not at all. Our job is to keep going with humility and hope. That's the true meaning of surrender. Letting go of the outcome also means letting go of timelines. Allah is never late. His plan doesn't follow your calendar, it follows your growth. Sometimes what you're waiting for will arrive only after you've become the version of yourself that can handle it. The next time you feel disappointed, pause and ask yourself, did I do my part? If the answer is yes, then rest. You're not failing. You're being taught to detach from results and attach your heart to the one who never fails. So my brothers and sisters, work with excellence, pray with passion, strive with sincerity, but don't wrap your happiness around results. Let go of the outcome and watch how Allah replaces your expectations with something far better than you imagine. Control your response, not the situation. There will always be things in life that you cannot control: how people treat you, what they say, how events unfold. But my brothers and sisters, what you can control is how you respond. That is where your true strength lies. The Prophet ﷺ faced insults, betrayal and hardship, yet his response was always dignified, calm and rooted in faith. When something upsets you, you have two choices: react with ego or respond with wisdom. Islam teaches us not to be reactionary. A believer doesn't allow the behavior of others to dictate their inner peace. Your response reflects your character, not theirs. Control is not found in shouting, proving a point, or trying to dominate a situation. It's found in silence when provoked, in forgiveness when wronged, and in trust when things don't go your way. That's not weakness, that's strength in the eyes of Allah. There will be moments when anger burns within you, when you're tempted to lash out. But the Prophet ﷺ said, the strong one is not the one who overpowers others in wrestling, but the one who controls himself in anger. Your power is in restraint. Sometimes your response to hardship is more important than the hardship itself. Trials are a part of life, but your reaction can either turn them into growth or into destruction. Choose to respond with sabr, with trust, with reliance on Allah. You can't stop people from misunderstanding you. You can't always fix what's broken, but you can choose not to lose yourself in the process. You can choose to respond with calm, to hold your tongue, and to pray instead of panic. Many people lose their peace not because of what happened, but because of how they handled it. They let anger control their words, fear control their thoughts, and stress control their hearts. But when you anchor yourself to Allah, your response becomes guided. Responding with patience doesn't mean you don't feel pain, it means you rise above it. It means you trust that Allah sees, hears, and knows. So you don't need to prove anything to anyone. You just need to remain sincere and composed. The Quran doesn't promise you a life free of tests, but it does show you how the prophets responded with dua, with tawakkul, with gratitude. That's the example we follow. Not a life without storms, but a heart that stays calm within them. Sometimes the best response is no response at all. Let people say what they want. Let situations unfold. Allah knows the truth. And when you stay silent for His sake, your silence is louder than any defense you could give. You are not responsible for what happens around you, but you are accountable for what comes from you. Your words, your reactions, your attitude, these are all part of your test. So respond in a way that pleases Allah, not your ego. The moment you react out of anger or haste, you hand over your peace to something external. But when you pause, breathe and respond with mindfulness, you take that power back. You remind yourself, I am not a slave to this moment, I am a servant of Allah. Don't let anyone drag you into a storm that Allah guided you out of. When you respond with calm, you protect your dignity. When you stay silent in wisdom, you guard your energy. When you choose dua over drama, you rise above the noise. Your response is a reflection of your spiritual maturity. It shows whether you've allowed the world to shake you or if you're anchored in your relationship with Allah. And the more you trust Him, the less you need to control everything around you. So my beloved brothers and sisters, train your heart to pause before reacting. Train your tongue to speak only what brings reward. And train your soul to respond with grace. Because while you may not control the situation, you always control your response. Ameen. The peace of leaving it to Allah. When you finally say, Ya Allah, I leave it to you. something shifts in your soul. The burden you carried begins to lighten, not because the problem vanished, but because you stopped trying to carry it alone. Surrendering to Allah is not defeat, it's freedom. It's knowing you're not in control, but the one who is loves you more than you understand. We live in a world that tells us to fix, chase, and figure everything out. But true peace doesn't come from control, it comes from submission. Islam teaches us to try our best and then to let go. Because once you've done your part, the rest belongs to Allah. Have you ever felt exhausted from overthinking? That's a sign that you're holding on too tightly. Allah never asked you to handle life alone. He asked you to turn to Him in every matter. In the quiet of your heart, whisper your worry and leave it there with Him. There's something deeply comforting about knowing Allah sees the whole picture. You only see a few pieces. So when things don't make sense or people let you down, don't panic. Just tell your heart, Allah knows, and that's enough for me. Leaving it to Allah doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you care wisely. It means you understand that your effort matters, but the outcome is in better hands. When your soul reaches that point of trust, the noise outside begins to fade. So many sleepless nights are spent worrying about what's out of our hands. But the moment you hand it to Allah, sleep returns. Not because the problem disappeared, but because the burden shifted. And Allah's shoulders are far stronger than yours. The Prophet ﷺ would say, "O turner of the hearts, keep my heart firm upon your religion." Even he, the most guided, asked for spiritual stability. Why? Because hearts are fragile. But when you leave matters to Allah, your heart is sheltered in divine care. Sometimes the chaos is a mercy. It's Allah pushing you to let go, to surrender, to stop trying to force what isn't written for you. He breaks your plans so you return to His. And when you do, what comes next is always better, always filled with barakah. The beauty of Islam is in this phrase, Hasbi Allahu la ilaha illa huwa. Allah is enough for me. This isn't just a sentence, it's a lifeline. It's what you hold on to when everything else feels shaky. Say it from your heart and peace will follow. When you leave it to Allah, you're not giving up. You're rising above. You're saying, I've done what I can. Now I trust the one who can do all things. That level of surrender transforms fear into faith and worry into worship. Sometimes you'll cry while letting go. That's okay. Tears don't mean you're weak. They mean you care deeply. But even through the tears, keep whispering, Ya Allah, I trust you. That dua alone can calm storms no one else sees. The more you try to control life, the more it slips from your hands. But when you hand it back to the Creator, things begin to settle. Maybe not immediately, but eventually. And even in the wait, your heart will rest because it's anchored in trust. People will give you advice. Some will confuse you more. But the most powerful step is to step away and pray. In sujood, leave it all there. Speak with no filter. Then get up and walk not with answers but with peace, because Allah heard you. There are days when answers won't come, but peace will. Why? Because peace is the first sign that you've left it to Allah. He may not change your situation instantly, but He will calm your soul in the waiting. And that's a gift beyond words. So, my brothers and sisters, when life overwhelms you, don't just react, reflect. Ask yourself, have I truly left this with Allah? And if not, do it now. Hand it over. Let go. Because the peace that comes from trusting Him is greater than any solution this world can offer. Ameen. Divine timing is always better. Sometimes we rush to open doors that Allah hasn't unlocked yet, not realizing that His delay is actually His protection. Divine timing isn't late, it's precise. When Allah withholds, it's because He knows the unseen. He knows what you don't, and His wisdom is far beyond your timeline. Be patient with the delay, because it often holds a greater mercy than an early answer ever could. You may feel like your du'as are hanging in silence, unanswered, but remember, silence from Allah is not rejection, it's preparation. He might be clearing a path, strengthening your heart, or removing what would have harmed you. Divine timing means things happen when your soul is ready, not when your ego demands it. How many times have you looked back and said, Alhamdulillah, it didn't happen then? That's the beauty of hindsight. Allah closed that door for a reason. Had it opened, it might have led you into pain you weren't prepared for. Trust that the delay was a part of your rescue. You pray for a spouse, a job, a dream to come true, but what if Allah is still shaping you for it? Or shaping it for you? When it's written, it will meet you in the best condition, at the best time. Not too early to damage you, not too late to break you, right on time to complete you. One of the hardest things to accept is that your timing may feel urgent, but Allah's plan is calm. It's never rushed, never delayed. When you want something so badly, your heart races, but His plan is peaceful. Follow the peace, it knows where to take you. Imagine the flower that blooms in winter, it will surely die. But the one that blossoms in spring was patient through the cold. You too must wait for the right season. Don't force what isn't ready. Allah's timing brings lasting beauty, not short-lived satisfaction. The Prophet ﷺ taught us patience not by words alone, but through his entire life. So many hardships, delays and tests shed complete trust in Allah's plan. If He could wait years in hardship with Sabr, then surely we can wait a little longer in hope. We rush into decisions, relationships and opportunities without divine guidance and then wonder why they fall apart. But when you let Allah decide the when, the how and the who, your outcomes become anchored in barakah. Timing aligned with Allah always lasts. Sometimes divine timing feels like a storm clearing up just as you've lost hope. That's not coincidence, it's qadr. It's Allah showing you that He never forgot you. He just waited for the best possible moment to lift you higher than your expectations. Don't compare your journey to someone else's. Just because they got there first doesn't mean you're behind. Everyone walks a different timeline. Allah wrote your story with your name on it, not theirs. And when your time comes, it will not pass you by. Your tests are not pointless, they're pauses. They build your strength for what's coming. Divine timing means your waiting is doing something, even when it feels like nothing. Maybe Allah is writing a better ending while you learn to trust Him with the pages. We often think we're ready. Ready for love, success, change. But Allah knows what readiness truly looks like. He delays not to deny but to prepare. His timing equips you internally before blessing you externally. That way, you don't just receive, you sustain. You must understand, if something was meant for you now, you would already have it. The delay is divine design. Keep making dua, keep walking forward. It's coming. And when it does, you'll realize why the wait was so important. Even the du'as of the prophets were sometimes answered after years. Zakaria alayhi salam waited for a child. Yusuf alayhi salam waited in prison. Ayub alayhi salam waited through illness. But when the help came beautifully, trust the same Allah today. So my dear brothers and sisters, breathe. Let your heart be at ease. Just because you don't have it now doesn't mean it's not written. Let go of the clock. Submit to the qadr. Because when Allah delivers something in His time, it is always more beautiful, more lasting and more meaningful than you could ever plan. Ameen. You were never created to carry the weight of the world, only to place your trust in the one who does. What feels uncertain to you is already written with precision by Allah. What you cannot change, He can shift in a moment. So breathe, make your dua, and then let go. Let go of what's hurting you, let go of what confuses you. Because when you stop overthinking, you make space for divine wisdom. And when you stop trying to control everything, you finally allow Allah to take over, and that's when the real transformation begins. Tawakkul isn't weakness, it's the highest form of strength. And remember, nothing escapes His sight, not even the pain you never speak of. Leave it with Allah and watch what happens.